Hey, good Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Volquest.com. This is Trail Tidbits. I'm Eric Kane, but the guy you are here to listen to is Matt Ray. Matt, week 5 of the high school football season has come and gone. I mean, literally over halfway through the regular season. It's starting to feel like fall here in East Tennessee, and a lot of Tennessee commits and targets are off and continuing to do their thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that time of the year. It's my favorite time of the year, Eric.
Yeah.
You walk outside in the morning, it's 54 degrees. You come
Dude, it
in
was
the evening.
56 degrees here this week, like
Yeah,
the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this morning, man. It's chilly.
you come in and it's 72, 75. Like it's football weather, and that's the best time of the year. It's football season. The high school football season has been rolling on for guys all the way across the country. Here in Tennessee and Georgia, I think they just finished week 5. Out west, and seasons are further behind. But yeah, ultimately, I mean, it's starting to get to crunch time. You're seeing some games start to have playoff implications, and big matchups coming down the stretch here for some teams and some of these guys that we're going to talk about. Um, and then again, guys taking visits, right? I mean, that's what everybody wants to know about it at this time of the year.
Yeah, real quick, quickly answer this. You and AP are, best buds, bro beans and all that. Are y'all in
Yeah,
the pumpkin spice game?
I am not in the pumpkin spice game.
Good.
I'm not there. I can't speak for AP on that, but I am not there.
I mean, all this fall talking, it's a pumpkin spice. I'm not either, but I didn't lose any
I mean,
respect for it.
I'll at least have respectfully, please respect my decision.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
have my picture taken at a pumpkin patch at some point this year, and we will leave with a pumpkin roll. I
Well,
mean,
you're
it's
you're
just,
you're also married, so that kind of
yeah,
comes with the
it's just,
territory.
it's just a tradition.
Hey, real quick, Boo Carter, Colorado. Coming out of that visit, anything to worry about for Tennessee? I mean, obviously keep tabs on it, but it sounds like it was a
Yeah.
good visit for him. But he's a Tennessee commit.
Yeah, that's one I think you continue to keep tabs on. Colorado's going to work that one down the stretch, try to get him back for an official visit. Tennessee's going to try to get him back to campus as many times as they can, and it's a lot easier for them to get him up from Cleveland to Knoxville than it is from Cleveland to Boulder.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I expect him back in town at least one more time this month, and then we'll see where things go after that. As the fall goes on, Bradley Central ranked number 1 in the state in 6A right now, so he's got a lot on his plate with his season. But in talking to some folks, yeah, I mean, he had a good time at Colorado. I'm not ready to go much further than that. I think it's going to take getting him back out there for an official visit for them to make a real move. I think when Boo Carter chose Tennessee in the summer, he felt really good about it. He was ready. He felt like at one point last fall to choose them after the Alabama
Yeah.
game. I sat down with him in October, and he had all intentions of doing that, and then he pumped the brakes.
Well, I had that video made for months.
Months, yeah. It looked like at some point around Christmas he would do it again. I mean, Boo never wanted to sell himself short in the process. He wanted to take visits and make sure that everything was right. And Colorado's worked really hard to get him back out there, unofficially, and he was able to make the trip and have a good time. But outside of that, I still think there's a lot of things that point to Tennessee with him. It's just going to be one you have to work to the finish line. He's a really, really good football player, and when you have really good football players committed to you, teams across the country are going to come after him. Staying out in Colorado, one guy that probably hasn't been mentioned as much, but is very important to this Tennessee class is Gage Ginther. And Colorado's really tried there with Gage Ginther. There was some buzz that he might take a visit. We believe that came from the Colorado side of things. And right now, he has no intentions of taking a visit to Colorado, and he plans to be back to Tennessee at some point this month. So, that's a note that I think is important right now, as he really is a versatile offensive lineman that Tennessee covets in this class.
Yeah, one of those guys that we think, and especially you and Austin, that pay way more attention than I do, but we think can continue to shoot up those rankings as the year goes on. More and more and more senior tape gets out. This could be one of those diamonds in the rough for this class of 2024 for the University of Tennessee. Other guys that commits, targets that ran action, we're going to talk about briefly here: Jake Merklinger, Jordan Ross, Mike Matthews, Carson General, George McIntyre. You here in a moment are going to catch up with a Tennessee commits, a one-on-one interview with Braylon Staley, so looking forward to that. But quickly, we'll look at first Jake Merklinger. Pretty pedestrian for him. 9 of 14, 154 through the air, 3 touchdowns. Old Jake Merklinger still getting it done for Tennessee, looking good as the quarterback in this 2024 class.
Yeah, I think for Jake Merklinger, there's a different level of confidence this fall. When I sat down with him at Calvary Day um, earlier this year, it just felt like he felt ready. He was comfortable with where things were heading into the season. They had already came off a win against Islands. He's very critical of himself and everything that he does. He's very fine tuned to the details. And I think for Jake Merklinger and Calvary Day, you could not have scripted a better start to this season, sitting at 4-0 and really getting ready to hit the meat of the schedule right here with a couple of tough games coming up. But, man, he's really efficient with the football. He's accurate. He's using his legs when he has to. I mean, just a great start for Jake Merklinger at Calvary Day School.
Go back to that graphic here if you're watching on YouTube. Jordan Ross, couple TFLs, quarterback hurry, a guy that Tennessee's going to be expected to get in the backfield here in the coming years and one of the higher rated prospects in this class.
Yeah, a guy that I think continues to progress in a lot of different ways, continues to add some weight, really explosive, really twitchy. His pursuit is something that is talked about frequently. They had a big win on Friday night. They beat Hoover, which is a tall task in the state of Alabama, 26-7. So Vestavia Hill's off to a good start. Teams are obviously going to game plan away from Jordan Ross. They're going to move the pocket, in different ways. They're going to try to scheme around him at that level of football. But he's a guy that I think is really down the stretch if Vestavia Hills can continue to piece it together and play the way that they have to start the season. He's a guy that's going to have more opportunities one-on-one, and you'll see him stuff the stat sheet even more.
So Jordan Ross is a guy that's looking good. We'll go to Mike Matthews. We have to have a Mike Matthews check in just about every Trail Tidbits. Couple of receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown, but he continues to embrace that physicality and put up some numbers here in the senior campaign.
Yeah, for Mike Matthews, Parkview is off to a really good start. 4-0. Quarterback play, I talked about this earlier in the season. Quarterback play is something that, kind of varies there. It hasn't been the best. They have continued to improve throughout the season. But for Mike Matthews, 2 receptions, 39 yards on Friday night, and in the process became the all-time leading receiver at Parkview High School. To me, when you look at number 4, and the graphic from Parkview was number 4 is now number 1. I think that I think that says a lot of different things about Mike Matthews. And I've touched on this with him before, but one of the common things that you hear about him is his work ethic, and obviously it's unmatched. So it's something that I think the folks at Parkview are just so excited to see him get that honor. But I think it also speaks a lot to his loyalty, right? Parkview is a really good program, but there are other opportunities, that Mike Matthews could have taken advantage of, going and hitting one of these private schools, leaving the state and trying to go take advantage of an NIL opportunity in another state that permits it to high school football players. And he didn't do that. It's full bore, full go. Let's go do something special at Parkview. And that's where he wanted to be. And that is, to me, one of the best things about Mike Matthews is that loyalty and sticking with something that he believes in.
Yeah, you got literally, you've got guys here in East Tennessee. Austin and I cover high school football here in East Tennessee with Rivalry Thursday, and you get to a location, you're like, I know that name, but that name wasn't here last year. That name was over there in Farragut last year, or Beard, whatever the case is. You see movements all around, and for a Power 5 SEC type receiver to stay at a predominantly like a run background school program, it speaks a lot to loyalty for sure, and that's Mike Matthews. We'll move on here. 2 more. Same game here. It was on ESPNU. I don't know if you guys watched it Friday night. Austin and I did when we were down there in Gainesville. A big reason for the issues maybe for top 25 targeted quarterback. Obviously, it has been, but especially now with Deuce Knight committing to Notre Dame. That's George McIntyre. 25 of 37, 252. 3 interceptions, but a big reason for the struggles because of that McCauley defense and a guy like Carson General, who had his name mentioned numerous times, a couple TFLs, 3 in fact, and 3 QB hurries.
Yeah, I think overall for Carson General, a guy that, man, when you look at him, high motor, and that showed up on Friday night on ESPN. I wasn't on the sidelines anywhere on Friday night, but that was a game that I paid close attention to. He really made some plays getting after George. He made some plays in the run game with those 3 tackles for losses. For George, ultimately, you look at the stat sheet, 25 for 27, and a lot of the night, man, it was him making something out of nothing. There's a play, I think, 4th and 4. Brentwood Academy feels like they have to go for it. He steps up in the pocket, gets flushed, dances around, makes a guy miss, back up in the pocket, got to make a decision on if he's going to run with it, jump pass, beautiful touch right over to pick up the 4th down. And to me, that was really kind of symbolic of his night. It was try to make something out of nothing. The Brentwood offensive line struggled, a pretty good portion of the night. McCauley very sound up front. You can look at the 3 interceptions, but when you're trying to make plays in high school and you're trying to come back from an early deficit, those are some things you're going to do. You see Shavar Young catch that touchdown there against Christian Brothers a couple of weeks back. He had a big night, the 2026 athlete, a guy that can do a lot of different things, 8 catches for over 100 yards on Friday night against McCauley. So this Brentwood Academy team, they're facing some criticism right now. One of their worst starts, sitting 1-4, but ultimately this is a young football team that will have a chance to bounce back in the second half of the season.
Perfect example there, talking about Young, former East Tennessee high school football player.
Yep.
Made the move to the mid-states with a good quarterback in Brentwood Academy. All right, Matt, good stuff there. Want to get into your conversation with Tennessee wide receiver commit, one of the top players in the state of South Carolina. That is Braylon Staley. You had a chance to catch up with him earlier this week.
Braylon, off to a fast start to your senior season. Already 4 touchdown receptions, coming off an 11-catch, 114-yard performance this past week. Just kind of take me through the excitement to be back on the field and get going this fall.
Man, it's really exciting. Starting a new journey with a new team. It was probably one of my best decisions I made, other than committing to the University of Tennessee. I got some great weapons around me. Demarius Tolan, Jay Sewell, great quarterback Quan Edmonds. So I really excited about that decision I made.
Each week here on Trail Tidbits, we do a feature and kind of talk about guys that are stuffing the stat sheet. And you've been a guy that here to start the season, it's pretty frequent, over 100 yards or a couple of acrobatic touchdowns, multiple things like that. Where do you feel like your game has elevated even more this fall?
Route running. My catch rate is probably, I think that got a little better. Really them type of things. I'm becoming a better leader also on and off the field. So it's really, chipping into my gameplay.
You talk about that decision to commit to Tennessee. There were a lot of different things that went into that for you. It was a big month of June official visits with a lot of schools pulling at you. Now looking back on it, how much comfort is there in the decision that you made?
A lot, man. I'm 100% committed to the University of Tennessee, and I'm just ready to be involved, man. I'm ready to step on that campus and play some ball.
Since that commitment, how would you say the relationships continue to grow with Coach Pope, Coach Halsley, Coach Hop? How's that conversation changed, and how's that relationship continue to take the next step?
Relationships have, man, probably been the same since they first started recruiting me. It's been father-son type thing. I get contact from them probably every week. It's amazing, man. I love Coach Pope, Coach Hype, and Coach Halsley, man. I love everybody on that coaching staff.
You're a guy that when you look at what Tennessee likes to do in the vertical passing game, the shots they like to take, letting the bigger frame wide receivers go down the field and make plays. You're a guy that meshes with that very well. how important was that as you looked at Tennessee? And obviously this fall it's been a lot of the same things. They're still trying to work vertically, teams trying to take that away more so. But how important was that vertical passing game in your decision?
It was really important. I know, receivers, they want the ball. So just looking at that offense was like, man, this is just a wide receiver's dream. So it really caught my attention, and that was the best move.
Since you've been committed, you've been able to have a lot of conversation with other commits in this class. Just take me through that conversation. When I sat down with Jake Merklinger in Savannah a while back, he said the group text message gets fired up and gets going when you add a new commitment. Around that time, you guys had just added Jordan Ross. Just take me through the conversation as you get to know your future teammates.
It just we text here and there. Add commits is always let's go GBO, things like that. We actually made another group chat the other day with everybody else. We just really just showing them about our day. They probably send a little streak or two, showing what they're doing, things like that. Boo Carter probably the most active group chat. So, I really love it, man. There's some great people, and I can't wait to play with them boys.
Braylon, as you continue at Strom Thurmond, obviously the goal is a state championship. But for you individually, what are some of your personal goals that you want to achieve this fall?
My biggest one is just to hit that 1,000 mark, man. I haven't hit it yet. I was close last year, but I think that 1,000 mark is really what I want to hit this year. My biggest goal.
Absolutely. Braylon, I get you out of here with this. The recruiting process is still, waging on. You've got schools that aren't going to slow down in recruiting you. When are you coming back to Tennessee?
I'll be back soon. I know I can't remember the exact date, but I will be back very soon.
All right, Braylon, we appreciate your time. Again, that's Braylon Staley, number 97 in the On 300 rankings, number 18 wide receiver in the country, and most importantly, 4-star Tennessee Volunteer wide receiver commitment. Braylon, thanks for your time.
Yes, sir.
That's a wrap for this week's episode of Volquest Trail Tidbits. A big thank you to 4-star wide receiver Braylon Staley for joining the show and talking a little bit about the start of his senior season and how his commitment with Tennessee has continued to progress. The Vols are back in action this week at Neyland Stadium at 4 p.m. on Saturday against UTSA, as they will look to bounce back from an ugly one this past Saturday in the Swamp. Be sure to follow Volquest for all of your game week coverage, recruiting coverage leading into the weekend and coming out of the weekend, as Tennessee will host a number of visitors. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Volquest YouTube channel, as you can always find these Trail Tidbit episodes there. We'll have more of these coming down the line. Next week, leading into South Carolina, we will have a lot of info to provide during Trail Tidbits, as it is setting up to be a big recruiting weekend on Rocky Top. I'm Matt Ray. Thank you all for following along.